This will be a day long remembered. Now I am the master.
Welcome to another episode of Legends and Theories, and welcome to my recap and review of The Mandalorian Season 3, Chapter 23, The Spies. There's a lot of crazy and intense things that happened in this episode, so if you have not watched it yet, I would highly recommend going and watching the episode before you watch this video. On Coruscant, Elia Kane sneaks through the streets and eventually makes it to a corner where an Imperial probe droid is waiting. Giving her TK number, she begins to contact Moff Gideon and gives him updates on everything going on and tells him how the pirates failed to take Navarro, explaining that the Mandalorians managed to go in and rescue everyone. Gideon thanks her for the information and signs off. Going through his base, he passes by many Imperial super commandos and makes it into a meeting of the Imperial War Council. There are many Imperials, including Galad Pelion and Brendel Hux, are there discussing the Imperial plans and the return of Grand Admiral Thrawn. As Gideon begins to question this, Pelion goes and defends the Admiral, saying that his return will be soon and this will help turn the tide for the Empire. They then begin to discuss everything going on with Dr. Pershing and Project Necromancer, as Gideon explains that Pershing was taken out by the New Republic into prison and he is currently unavailable, not telling them that his mind was fried and going on to saying he needs more resources, saying that the Mandalorians seem likely to retake Mandalore. The Imperials agree to give him the resources he needs, and Gideon signs off. On Navarro, the Mandalorian fleet appears and heads to the Mandalorian base camp, where they meet up with their fellow Mandalorians, meeting for the first time. Grief Karga comes by to welcome them and gives Din a wine from Coruscant. He then says he has another gift for him and brings him back to the city, where he shows off the repurposed body of IG-11, now called IG-12, is now fully controllable droid that Grogu could sit in. With Grogu being placed in it, he gets to try it around and now has the capability to give simple yes or no answers through using IG-11 and pre-programmed buttons. Although Din does reject this initially, Grogu continues to spam the yes button, saying that he wants this, and Din eventually gives in. Grogu uses his new suit to go to a food vendor and both grabs a piece of food and a melon fruit. Din is forced to pay for both as Grogu eats some of the food and crushes the fruit. Bo-Katan, at the Mandalorian's feast, comes to them and tells everyone it's time to retake Mandalore. She asks for volunteers from both the faction that follows the Way and the ones that follow the Darksaber. Beginning with Din Djarin, Pez Vizsla, Casca Reeves, and X-Wolves, with many more volunteer for the mission, as the Armorer finally turns and says that she will join them. The Mandalorians come out of hyperspace above Mandalore and send down a single fighter with all the volunteers, dropping off the Mandalorians inside of the drop chutes. They go and secure the landing area and give enough time for the fighter to land and let everyone out so they can begin their march to find the Great Forge of Mandalore. While going through the ruins of the planet, they see a large land vessel heading towards them, and they prepare to fight if needed. But many of the Mandalorians notice that there are other Mandalorians on board who were survivors from the Purge. They all launch off and begin to meet up with them and apologize to Bo-Katan for failing her. They board the ship and begin to head out as Bo-Katan and everyone begin to speak of Mandalorian history and how the Children of the Watch managed to survive the Great Purge, and the others were roaming the planet until the war ended and have been traded ever since. Bo-Katan then begins to apologize, saying that they didn't fail Mandalore, that she did. She did surrender to Moff Gideon to try and get her people spared, but it ultimately wound up not working out, and he betrayed them. This is how he got the Darksaber, and she is greatly sorry for this. A little later on, she is very worried about being able to keep the Mandalorian factions together as Din goes up to her and says that he was wrong about the other Mandalorians saying that they were not selfish, but Bo says that she was, and that this was all her fault, that her leadership caused Mandalore to be destroyed. Din reassures her that this isn't the case and that she is honorable, and this is why he follows her, and others will be able to see this. Bo thanks him, and they decide to continue on, although they are sending some of the injured Mandalorians that survived on Mandalore back up, as they are led to the Great Forge by the Mandalorians who were still well enough to fight that were stranded on the planet. On the way to the Great Forge, Pez Vizsla and ex-Wolves begin to get into an argument over a game and then go to fight each other, with the fight going pretty evenly until Grogu steps in, using IG-12 to stop the fight. At the same time, the armor finally reaches the Mandalorian fleet and asks them for medical assistance. Making it to the Great Forge, they are ambushed by a creature, and they are forced to abandon their ship as it is destroyed by it, and everyone does manage to escape using their jetpacks to escape. Making it to the entrance to the Great Forge, they begin to go down and look upon it, but quickly hear jetpacks going off and see an army of Imperial super commandos flying towards them. One of the Mandalorians does manage to escape to go and warn the fleet and try and get reinforcements, as the rest begin to hold them off and begin to push them back into the forge, but they quickly realize it's a trap as blast doors drop down and they see a massive Imperial facility. Din is trapped on the other side of the blast doors and tries to fight off the Imperial super commandos, but he is quickly overwhelmed as he is taken prisoner by them. A man in black armor comes down and takes command. Quickly, everyone realizes that this is Moff Gideon, and he begins to threaten them, telling them to take Din away and to launch the fleet to go and take the Mandalorian fleet by surprise. As everyone begins to panic, Gideon gloats and tells Bo-Katan to return the Darksaber to him. Bo-Katan looks at everyone and they agree as they begin to fire upon the blast door. She takes out the Darksaber and begins to cut an exit out for them to escape through. As they begin to retreat, Paz Vizsla covers them from the rear And once they've all escaped, knowing that there's only one way for this to end, he forces the blast door closed once again and goes on a final stand, trying to take out as many Imperials as he possibly can. Although he takes down almost all the super commandos, he is ambushed by the Praetorian guards, who quickly manage to beat him down and stab him multiple times, leaving him behind to die as they return to Gideon. So, first off, sorry for all the maybe awkward cuts. There was a lot of planes heading over today, and honestly, it was getting pretty annoying. I had to keep cutting because it was extremely loud. It is nice outside, we have the windows open, and it's pretty easy to hear the planes going over the audio, so I was trying to make it as best as I can. So, sorry about that. And as you can see, right when I said planes, a plane started to head over. So, honestly, this was a really amazing episode. I really just couldn't wait to see what happens next. It was a really dark ending, and Pez Vizslá's last stand was honestly really awesome. I am certain he's dead, but I just left it a little ambiguous just in case for this review, the recap, and honestly, I really want to see where this goes because now Din is a prisoner. Bo-Katan has to lead everyone in this battle and prove why she needs to be the leader of Mandalore. Gideon has his new Dark Trooper armor, and that looks really cool. I did realize I forgot to mention that in the recap that it's Dark Trooper armor, but I don't think it's super necessary. Honestly, I really just can't wait to see what happens. All this mentioning of Thrawn is really cool, and I really am excited to see where it continues to because it is really crazy to see. Well, first off, Hellion in live action. He is a really major character in Star Wars Legends, and I'm excited to see what they do with him. Most likely in the Thrawn, when Thrawn appears in Ahsoka. I feel like we might get a tease of Thrawn in the next episode, and that'll probably be set up for Ahsoka. I'm assuming it will be in a post-credit scene for the season finale, and I honestly have no idea what they're going to be doing with this because this episode was insane. I really just can't wait to see where this goes because we're at such a dark place. We're also having some interesting stuff with IG-12 and giving Grogu the partial ability to speak. I think that they definitely need Grogu to be starting to talk on his own soon, but I think that for now at least this works for him to at least be able to say yes and no using IG-12. But I do think that Grogu needs to start speaking soon and start doing stuff because it's pretty ridiculous that Grogu has essentially done nothing for the entire season. I'm guessing that he was intended to return by around this episode, and that was probably what was initially planned, or they put everything in with IG-12 and had enough time to think of that, knowing they had to return Grogu. And even though Favreau said he was going to make a decision, I honestly highly doubt that and think that he has to lie just so he's not in, any trouble or anything. But still, this episode is honestly really good, and I've been enjoying the season so far. I honestly think this is one of the best episodes of the show, and I really can't wait to see what they do with it. But I do want to know what you think because I really did enjoy this, and even though there is some connections to the sequels, I know a lot of people are going to be mad about that, but I'm fine with it. I think it was done well. The Praetorian Guards are honestly made a lot more threatening in this, and it's cool to know stuff like that existed before. But seriously, let me know what you think. Please let me know in the comments, and I'll see you on the next episode of Legends and Theories. Thank you for watching this episode of Legends and Theories. Please subscribe, like the video, share the video, leave a comment, check out the video on screen, and may the Force be with you.